This is KVRT 13 News. Now Marv.
The next phase is no longer theoretical. You're watching Void News. I'm Marv. Blizzard spent this week doing what it does best when an update is close. Taking one patch and slicing it into as many separate announcements as possible. The headline is simple enough. The 12.0.5 content update arrives April 21st. That part matters. Everything attached to it is Blizzard's attempt to make sure you understand just how much they expect you to absorb in very little time. Let's start with ritual sites. These are new 1-5 player instanced activities tied to Eversong Woods and Zul Aman, built around escalating difficulty tiers, optional challenge modifiers, performance-based rewards, and a new currency system feeding into gear, cosmetics, housing items, pets, and mounts. Which is, of course, a very elegant way of saying Blizzard has built another structured reward machine and placed it directly in your path. The response so far is mostly positive. Players seem interested. Some are even cautiously optimistic that it could be fun. A few are already pointing out that the format might have made more sense as something more open-ended rather than another semi-contained scenario system. That is a fair concern. But for now, ritual sites look like one of the more substantial additions in the patch. Then there are void assaults. These push players through rotating void strikes and larger void incursions across Eversong Woods and Zul Aman, with shared progression, map-based activity tracking, and rewards meant to help gear players up quickly. The article itself is straightforward. The player reaction is not about the feature, it is about class tuning, again, which tells you everything you need to know about current priorities. Blizzard announces a new activity, and the immediate response from part of the audience is still, yes, but what are you doing about my class? The system expands. The discontent remains stable. Blizzard also spent part of the week explaining the Voidforge. This is the part where your endgame loot gets dragged into a new layer of controlled progression through nebulous void cores and ascendant void cores, letting players narrow random loot outcomes and eventually empower specific weapons and trinkets. In cleaner language, they are trying to make the loot machine feel less random while adding another machine on top of it. The comment section, mercifully, is less dramatic here. Mostly people talking. Mostly people trying to understand it, which may be the clearest sign yet that once you involve deterministic gear systems, players become willing to tolerate almost anything if they think it helps them stop losing to bad drops. Then Blizzard unveiled Decor Duels, a hide-and-seek style PvP side activity in Silvermoon City, where players disguise themselves as furniture and attempt to survive discovery long enough to collect another currency for more rewards. A sentence like that should feel fake. It does not. Community response here is cautious. Some curiosity, some skepticism, some concern about whether the mode will actually function smoothly, which is reasonable because fun little side mode tends to remain fun only as long as it actually works. Still, compared to some of Blizzard's other experiments, this one at least knows what it is. Outside retail, Burning Crusade Classic Anniversary Edition announced Overlords of Outland for May 14th. And if you want to understand the emotional state of that audience, you only need to read 2 words repeated over and over again across nearly 200 comments. Revert changes. Not excitement, not celebration, not anticipation. Just a sustained and highly coordinated refusal to move on from whatever Blizzard changed that those players would very much like undone. So while the article itself promises raids reputations, Arena Season 2, profession recipes, and swift flight form, the audience appears to be using the announcement primarily as a complaint platform, which, to be fair, is also a form of engagement. On the lighter side, Blizzard posted the Midnight Art Blast, which is exactly what it sounds like. A showcase for the people who made the expansion visually coherent. And astonishingly, the comments are normal. Positive even. No major arguments, no system complaints, no demands to revert reality, just appreciation. Enjoy it while it lasts. Then there is the new Twitch drop. Another Murloc plush, another color, another month of asking players to watch 4 hours of World of Warcraft streams in exchange for housing decor. Most of them will either collect reluctantly or ignore while still complaining that Blizzard keeps doing this. And for once, the fatigue is visible and unified. This is no longer novelty. It is a production line. The audience has noticed. Finally, Blizzard published the WoW Weekly Recap, which once again bundles together things you already knew into a summary you did not need. It is still useful in one sense. It reveals Blizzard's current communication instinct. Repeat, segment, repackage. Repeat again. If something important exists, it will be announced, broken into sub-announcements, summarized in a weekly roundup, and then likely announced once more just to make sure no one escapes the cycle intact. And beneath all of that, the week's hotfixes continue doing the actual maintenance work. Raid tuning, dungeon cleanup, encounter fixes, minor corrections, numbers adjusted here, health reduced there, mechanics softened just enough to keep people moving. Nothing glamorous. Usually the most necessary work is. So that is where things stand. The patch is real. The features are multiplying. Classic is furious. The plushies are breeding. And the system remains convinced that repeating itself is the same as communicating. You're watching Void News. I'm Marv. Stay informed.
The current cycle has changed. 12.0.5 is now active. The Mists of Pandaria Time Walking event is underway. It will continue through April 29th. The PvP Brawl, Packed House, is also active during this same period. Both remain available through the end of the current cycle. On April 27th, Children's Week begins. Seasonal participation is expected. On April 28th, Volunteer Guard Day begins at midnight. No irregularities have been noted. The schedule is stable, that is all for now.